Hello, hi Suzanne, how are you doing today? I'm doing this video just specifically for you. I'm not going to be using this on any of my other my Facebook page. This is specifically to you and to your needs. So I appreciate you being willing to keep going and trying this stuff. Like I said, it is a learning curve. This is completely different than anything I know I've ever used, and so I'm sure it's probably completely different from anything you've ever used as well. Um, so I wanted to start by addressing, you mentioned your pores, and I know that we had talked a little bit about skincare back when you were, learning more about our products. And I know you may not be able to right now purchase our skincare, but I do want to say that probably the best thing you can do to help with your pores is the skincare. And when I first purchased my foundation, I was kind of the same way. I got it and I started using it. I felt like it was very thick. And, I wasn't 100% sold. And so I kind of put it away and I thought, well, you know what? I didn't have any skincare that was really all that great. Let me just try the skincare. So I started just purchasing the skincare. Started off, my very first purchase was the Sotox because it was anti-aging, which I'm 43. I need anti-aging. So I bought that. I started using it on a daily basis. And the more I used it, the more I started seeing these amazing things happening to my skin. And so then I was like, oh, okay, well, if this is that good, then let me try some other things. So I bought the cleanser and I bought the exfoliating mask, and I started using them on a regular basis, and I started seeing these amazing things happening. And so I thought, well, maybe now that my skin is where I like it, where I feel comfortable with it, let me try the foundation again. And it was like night and day. It was like, I had just rediscovered this foundation for the very first time. And the way it laid on my skin was so much different. Plus, I had, in the meantime, and all this time in between, I had watched more videos, people putting it on, and I realized I was completely applying it wrong. I was using entirely too much. I started using my Blunderful Damp, which really helped to get a more even coverage and keep it very sheer, which is what I wanted. I didn't want a really cakey foundation, and I kind of feel like that's probably what you're looking for as well. So, I definitely will, in your case, recommend several of our skincare products. Dream Clean, first of all, is my all-time favorite cleanser. You will definitely start seeing a difference right away when you use the Dream Clean, because after I use that, it's like my pores are just completely gone. It is great at cleaning out those pores and getting all that bacteria out of there. And I've never used a cleanser before where I felt so clean afterwards. Usually if I would use a cleanser and I always felt like I had like a film left over, but literally I use Dream Clean and I feel the cleanest I've ever felt on my face. I also, and Sotox. Sotox is our anti-aging serum, so it lifts and firms and shrinks things and makes things tighter. And so that's, I think, going to be, really great for for your pores. And the skin polish is another one. That's a mask that you do a couple of days a week, and it exfoliates and helps, tighten up and your skin also, and firm up those pores and everything. So those would be the three products. If I were going to recommend getting any of those first, those would be the three that I would recommend getting first. And then of course you can incorporate as you go other things. We have a moisturizer that you would probably enjoy a lot. And of course I am a huge One Drop Wonder fan. I use it every single day. I use it on not just my face, but when my son got a sunburn, I used it on his sunburn, and it cleared it up very quickly. It has a very multitasking. It's a little pricey, and people always kind of go, whoa, that's a little pricey. And I say, yes, it is pricey. It definitely is, but it is one drop wonder for a reason. You do just use one drop. My bottles last me for a very long time because you just use it very sparingly. And that's the biggest thing I want to tell you about all of our products is to use them sparingly. Okay. I don't want this to get too long because I know you're a busy mom and you can't sit around and just watch videos all day. So let me just go ahead and get started really quickly. What I do to my face to prep it for makeup is I do put on another one of our products, which is called Must Do, although now it's called Due Date. We had to change the names of some of our products. So Due Date is our face oil. I like to put it on right before I put my makeup on, and it just makes me have a real nice glowy, dewy feel on my face. It helps the makeup just to lay very nicely. So that's another thing that I do recommend. And then I am going to send you samples of our primer and finishing spray. I can also throw in a couple of samples of the Sotox and the Must Do. I think I still have some of those left. If I do, I'll send them to you as well. All right, so first base primer spray. First, that's the first thing you put on, unless you do the Must Do first. All right, it is just a spray. It says to do it in a X and T. I do what works for me, and that's one thing I want to tell you is everything you need to kind of figure out what works best for you. And in the summertime, I like to kind of rub it in, so I make sure I'm getting, kind of a all over even surface. Okay, let that dry. You want it to dry completely, and then this is when I do my concealer. And I'm going to show you. So you can see I've got some redness on my face. And this is my concealer's number 1, which I'm pretty sure you purchased, which I'm almost out and I've ordered some more. So I'm going to I have a buffer brush. I use a buffer brush for my concealer. So I'm just going to come in here and just get very little bit, super itty bitty little bit. And I'm just going to very lightly go over those areas where I have some redness. Okay, I'm not really caking it on. I'm just like doing a very super sheer coat, and that's what I recommend. And all of our products are our foundation. They're 50% pigmented. So because they are so heavily pigmented, a little goes a long way. And my best recommendation is to start off with just a tiny bit, and then if you feel like you need more, then add more and build it versus putting on a whole lot in the beginning and then feeling like you have on too much. So I'm just going over those areas where I typically have the most redness. Now some of this redness will be corrected by just the foundation. I'm just kind of going over like blemishes and things like that. But like I said, you want to make sure it's super light. Do you see how light that is? I'm not using very much at all. All right. So concealer is done. And now I'm going to use, I took my Blenderful into my bathroom. I got it completely soaking wet, squeezed it out as much as I could, and then I got a towel and kind of squeezed out the rest. So it is damp and very nice and squishy and ready to go. So I basically do this. To start, I use the flat side of my Blenderful, place it on directly onto the foundation and give it a quarter twist. And that is it. Okay. Now, my preferred method for using the Blenderful is a kind of a tapping like this. I'm kind of just tapping all over like so. The reason I use this motion, especially on areas where I have done my concealer, is that I don't want to wipe away the concealer. So doing the tapping helps a lot initially, and I'll show you what I do afterwards. I go back over it to smooth everything out. And so now this is still with just that very first quarter turn that I did, and I'm going to show you half my face when I'm done. Okay, so now you can see it has not covered like you can still see my freckles. You can still see what looks like skin, but it's evened out the skin tone, which is basically what I want it to do. I just want it to look like I have one even skin tone. So that's the side I've completed, and that's the side I haven't. See the difference? And that was all I used, was just that little bitty bit. Okay, like that. And again, now if I look at it and I see areas that I want to have more coverage, then I would build on it, just add a little bit more. So I'm going to come back in and do the same thing, quarter twist for the second side, or the other side of my face. Again, I'm still using the tapping. For me, I like this method. There are also people who don't like the Blunderful and would rather use a brush, and that's okay too. I just feel like, and I always recommend, especially to my customers who are trying it for the very first time, to me the Blunderful is probably the most foolproof way of putting it on. I feel like the brush kind of takes practice, and like I didn't even start using the brush until I had been using it for over a year. And so because now I know really how to apply it, I can work with the brush. Okay, so now finishing up the second side. And there we go. So now what I do is I use the tip to get into those little hard to reach areas. Again, just kind of give it a little twist, and then, you know, come back in around the eyes, around the nose. Now, I have these deeper pores on the sides of my nose. You can see I'm missing product right there. So a lot of times what I do is I just take my finger and I get a little bit on my finger, and then I just kind of rub in those little spots. Not necessarily trying to get it down in the pores, just to cover those pores up. And then I go back over with my sponge again and kind of tap it so that it removes any of the excess area. And then what I do, one thing I want to, do you see this loveliness right here? Let me show you. I'm going to put some more of my concealer on that. That little loveliness right there. So, and then go back over it with the foundation. Now, I do wipe down my neck to, you know, get rid of the line if there's any line. Now, I know your color's not right, and I feel very badly about that, and I want to help you get that corrected and get it where you want. I definitely think it's too light. I think that because it's too light, it probably is causing you to see a lot of things that you don't want to see. When you have a concealer or a foundation that's too light, then we notice more things, right? Because there's such a harsh contrast between your actual skin and your foundation. So either we can get you a darker foundation, you can return what you have, or you can keep what you have and order a darker and mix them to make sure that you're going to get the right color. Or you can take some of your concealer number 3 and mix it in with your foundation until you're able to get a darker color foundation. So those are a couple of options that you have. You may have to play around with the color a little bit till you get it the way you want, but I definitely do think that the color is probably causing you to feel like you're seeing more things on your face. So I think once we get your color good, I think once we get your application down, I think you're going to be really happy with it. So there we go. And then the last step I usually do is I take this, more rounded side of it, and then I come back in and if I see places where I've got too much, that's when I just smooth it out, spread it out, get rid of any excess. If I see any excess, that kind of thing. So, and I know you ordered the number 3 because you had darker circles. So, you would obviously do your eyes before you did your foundation, and then do your foundation on top of that. So that is how I recommend applying your foundation. And like I said, I just really feel like it's one of those situations like it was with me. I just was using too much. And when you use too much, it's definitely going to look cakey. A little goes a long way because of how heavily and highly pigmented it is. So then your next step after you do your foundation would be to apply your translucent powder. I can't remember if you bought any powder or not, but if you haven't, I do powder. This is, it looks kind of crazy because it looks white, but then it goes on translucent and it just helps to set in your foundation. And then now what I do during the summertime is I do that. Then I usually will spray on my setting spray. Then I do my makeup, the rest of my makeup, my eye makeup, my blush and everything, and I spray again. So it's like I'm trying to lock in all that makeup so it stays in place and it doesn't go anywhere when I'm out in the heat during the summertime. So, and then like I said, then I would take my setting spray and spray it on like so and let it dry. And that's basically it. So I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions about anything after watching this video, be sure to ask. That's what I'm here for. I want to make this work for you because I really do believe in these products. I believe that they're great. You're really the first person I've had that has had, hasn't been like, oh, I love it. So no, I take that back. I had one other person and I just worked with her and now she's loving it. So I really feel like that, once we get past those hurdles of, figuring out how to apply it where it looks the best on you, then I think that you will definitely love it. So I will talk to you later. Bye.